The Tail of the Dragon is an internationally known uh, road that runs from North Carolina into Tennessee. It's internationally known as a great place to test your motorcycle skills. In fact, over about a 250,000 people per year visit it. The Tail is actually a 14-mile stretch of Route 129, which runs from Topton, North Carolina to Marysville, Tennessee, and it's about 62 miles long. But the twistiest portion of it, including 317 turns, is located in the 13 miles that's specifically referenced as the Tail of the Dragon. The route likely began as a game trail carved out by various wildlife, buffalo, deer, elk, through the southern Appalachian Mountains. Native Americans, including the Cherokee, adopted these paths for hunting and travel, as they offered the easiest route through this rugged terrain. In the 1830s, during the Indian Removal Act and the Trail of Tears, some Cherokee used the trail to hide from U.S. soldiers enforcing their relocation to Oklahoma. The trail was converted into a formal road designated U.S. Route 29 and paved around 1934. It remained a fairly backwater route up until the 1980s and 1990s. The earliest reference to the Dragon name was in 1981 when Doug Snavely used that name and founded the Deals Gap Riding Society for local motorcycle enthusiasts. In the early 1990s, Ron Johnson formally trademarked the name The Tail of the Dragon and started development of what would later become the Deals Gap Motorcycle Resort. We're going to begin our trip through the Tail, coming north on 129, coming up to the Deals Gap Motorcycle Resort, and which should be coming up here just on the right. Slow down here just a tad, take a look at it. You can only see the gas station coming up here, but on the other side of that is the rest of the facility. On the left here, we're going to turn in here real quick, is the gift shop, the Tchotchke's place. But it also has the statue of the tail over on the right there. This is actually a pretty nice facility. They have pretty much everything you could want for your remembrance of your trip to the Tail. I stopped in there and bought all the usual stuff. And there's the Dragon with the wrecked motorcycle in his tail. And across the road from this, you can just see the sign over there, is the actual motorcycle resort. And that's got a hotel and a restaurant and a gas station and another gift shop. I took a stop there and refueled both me and the motorcycle. Had a wonderful hamburger in the restaurant. And you have to stop. The one thing you need to take a look at is this called the Tree of Shame. It's basically parts and pieces of every wrecked motorcycle and car that's met its demise on the Tail. And by the way, just for reference sake, there are about 100 accidents per year on the trail. About 70% of those include motorcycles, and they're on average about 3 deaths per year. Okay, after a nice relaxing break, it's time to get back on the road. We're going to head out of the Deals Gap Resort here. Checking that we're clear. This first chunk of the Dragon going around down the resort here is actually pretty straight, which is kind of nice because you get to wind out your motor a little bit. As you can see, there are no guardrails along here, and very soon what you see is that on one side have rocks, and on the other side you have a pretty significant drop off, and these are the mildest sections here. You can also see that while there are lots of motorcycles and sports cars out here to play around, there are also there are lots of folks who just use this as part of their daily lives, so you have to kind of be aware that not everybody's out here to, play around on the public roads. And here we're going to cross over from North Carolina into Tennessee. The road's about the same on either side, so it really doesn't make a lot of difference. What you're going to see, oh, there's one of the first ones. These signs that say 15 miles an hour, they're serious about that. If I were in a car, I'd be going 15 miles an hour. Even on a motorcycle, it's still like, I got very uncomfortable above 25 or 30, and that's with really leaning the bike over. In fact, I leaned it over so far here that I started scraping pegs on some of these corners, and that tells you that you're at the maximum turning capability of your motorcycle, so you better slow down. So I did. Very careful going through these corners, always looking ahead, always watching out for the signs, but even with the signs, I still, if I couldn't see around a corner, I slowed down, which is, the safest approach to especially on a road you've never driven before. Now, luckily, I don't know how this happened, but there was a scrape. I don't know how this happened, but I actually had no traffic in front of me for most of my trip through the tail, which was absolutely wonderful. So it let me really focus on, how I was handling the bike, how much it was leaning, what part of the lane I was in. And that's, by the way, one of the other things here is because it's two-way traffic, you really only have half of this road to maneuver in. So you better stay on your side, and also, by the way, be ready to get out somebody who didn't follow that rule. So here was the first guy I ran into, and he very, very pleasantly pulled over, and this is what you're supposed to do. This is the etiquette of the tail, is if there's somebody behind you obviously wants to go faster, there are a bunch of these pull-offs on both sides of the road. So, just pull over and let them go past. And after that guy, I pretty much had clear sailing for the next 8 or 9 minutes. It was very pleasant. Weather was perfect that day. I was really enjoying throwing this motorcycle around, something you really never do when you're out on, normally riding around. I almost never get it anywhere close to its maximum turn capability. But here you could. And, oops, by the way, there are policemen on the tail of the Dragon. Not a lot, but there are enough out there that, you don't want to be going way too fast. I think they're pretty lenient in their who they pull over. I think you have to be, one of these guys on a pocket rocket going 90 miles an hour, being incredibly stupid. I was never that. At most I got it up to 50 or 55. That was on straightaways. Through the corners, I was, somewhere down or certainly below the posted speed limit of 35. But it's just a lot of fun to really maneuver a motorcycle versus, ride it. I mean, I certainly have gone a lot faster on a motorcycle, but never had this much fun, playing with its turn capabilities, leaning it over, really getting a feel of what the limits were for the bike. These every once in a while you'll see somebody off to the left here. Those are they're like 2 companies, and I saw like at least 5 guys sitting on the side of the road, and they take pictures of everybody who comes by. In fact, that picture in the beginning of the video was taken by one of those guys. They take pictures of everybody going by, and you go on their websites and look up your time going in front of them, and you'll find your picture there. Usually 2 or 3 shots as you're coming around a corner, or, flashing past. And you can buy them for I think they're like $8, so it's really inexpensive, but just something nice. I mean, I certainly have a lot of video in which I can clip pictures from sitting in the seat, but it's nice to have a picture of what you look like going by on the turns. So I'm just going to let the video run here for a few minutes so you can get a feel of what these turns are like and what kind of scenery you have when you're zooming around on the tail. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm sure it gets a little repetitive when you're just watching the video, but take my word for it, it was not repetitive while I was riding it. It's like you got to be on top of the bike and the road every second of every mile. So it was a hell of a lot of fun, and I thoroughly recommend that if you get a chance, drive the tail of the dragon.